Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 23 of my Industrial Revolution 3 playthrough. In this episode, we are going to work on batteries, which is going to allow us to upgrade our power armor, as well as make steel, which will let us get the next research pack. Enjoy! Well, in the background, research has been going, and now we can make these batteries. And we could do it anywhere, but moving sulfuric acid around the factory is probably a lot easier than moving copper or iron. And it also kind of makes sense for this to be on the main bus because those are main bus items. And we would want to go to the main bus in order to pick up batteries to recharge ourselves. We really wouldn't want the batteries to be right here because then we would have to walk down here every time we wanted to charge our character rather than just walk across the main bus like we have been doing up until now. So we need an electric assembler and then a battery charger because it is a two-step process. And that is something that requires copper rods. So this is one of those items that required a random item here that we took out of our inventory, but that's fine. We barely need them for anything, so we can deal with that every once in a while. It's so nice filling up on everything. All right, we're on the end, so we would need to first make the battery, which requires copper plates and iron plates, and also that sulfuric acid. Let's just place a few of these down, making copper, making iron, and we select it and see. Looks like we need one more iron in there. And that is good. It's kind of a two-step process because first it's going to generate the batteries, but then we're going to need to charge them, but also pick them up off of our character if we have too many. So this one on the left will be the requester of dead batteries. And I guess we have to make it a chest. And yeah, the 3 slots are fine. We put an inserter there. But we don't want it to fill up all the way. Basically, if there's less than about 50 of them in there, it turns on. And naturally, that will get put into the charger, and then any extras will go onto the pallet and fill that up. And now we need to get the acid in here. And it's going to go quite the ways. But we're probably not going to be using enough of it for it to really matter. And now that we have landfill, stuff like this doesn't get in our way anymore. We can just keep going. There's another cliff in here. Kind of hard to see between the trees. But it's in there. Or better, it's gone now. So we keep the acid flowing all the way to here. We should upgrade all of these. But it's pretty cool how when there's a battery in here getting charged, you see the battery. It's a very large one. And with this, that is the last thing that we need steam canisters for. Thank goodness. We're not using steam anymore. Now we need some batteries. And it'll take a little while for those to fill up, but we'll let it go. And we definitely don't need these steam canisters anymore. However, we still need the actual canisters themselves because they are used to fill up these petroleum canisters. So looking at the numbers, the petroleum canister gives you 120% acceleration when batteries give you 115, and the petroleum gives you an extra 5% of vehicle top speed. So as far as vehicles are concerned, you are better off using the petroleum. However, for everything else, such as our character, we definitely want to be using batteries. So we'll pull this out, and we'll leave this chest here just making canisters because we still need them. And now we will have to take the rest of the steam canisters and shoot them back into the network. And we will probably be finding steam canisters all over the place in a lot of our vehicles and stuff, so we'll have to clear all those out eventually. While things are going, let's start upgrading our inventory here. First, we need the discharge equipment. Its power is the same as the steam engine. However, the steam engine, surprisingly, does actually make pollution, where the battery discharge does not. And in goes the battery discharge. And it's flashing because it needs to get its batteries, but it will. There we go. The night vision and belt immunity are already electric items. However, now we need to switch to personal robots. Yep, it has double the construction area and double the robot limit. And because of that, it means we are going to need to have 20 robots. And do we handcraft them? Probably, since we're not at the point of fully automating all of this, and they do require batteries. Luckily, though, we've got a giant stack of them in here already. Achievement unlocked. We still have scatterbots, but we probably won't need too many more of them. So let's pull those out and give our construction robots a place to go. And there we go. And it would be nice to test the robots a little bit. These things hold a ton of power, like a ton of power. So this battery discharge equipment can only do 250 kilowatts. So it actually takes a little while for these to fill up. Because of that, we probably want to put some accumulators in here as well. So let's make 2 of them. They are the 1x2s, so they can fit on this up and down direction, but they can't fit on the side to side. This way we will have an idea of how charged our equipment grid is without having to open this up and actually look at the roboports, because otherwise that's the only place that it could store power. Luckily, making batteries does not require very much sulfuric acid, and we went through all that steam, so let's go through the rest of it. And hey, getting close to being done with all this stone. We are finding ourselves with some junk to get rid of, but because it's rare junk, we probably can just throw it in here to get crushed, like the portable steam engine and probably the steam roboports. Can't imagine we would really use those for anything anymore. And these aren't running at all. Does that mean that we have completely used up all of our resources? Basically, yeah, and we shut the thing down so it wouldn't just keep running for the purposes of sulfur. Actually, one other thing we can do is just unhook it from making the explosives, because that's where it's all getting dumped. This way, when we turn this on, this is all going to run again, but it will only fill up to the point to where we have a sufficient amount of sulfur. So it's time for another 30 of these. It's funny looking at both of our robot types here. I didn't think the electric roboport would send the steam ones around, but I guess it does. Is there any difference between the 2 of them? The speed is the same, and the cargo capacity is the same, but the energy consumption is actually twice as high for the electric robots. That is because the steam robots do not get movement speed research, whereas the electric ones will. So over time, it will be better off to have the electric bots. Now that the batteries inside the roboports are filled, it is filling up the regular ones in the power armor. Well, I want to test our robots, but we need to get rid of the old ones first. So there they go. Getting crushed away. Now when we do some deconstruction, oh, that's a lot. I was thinking there'd be less there. But now we are using our electric bots. And definitely you can tell that the range is much higher, and of course having twice as many of them is also nice. We probably should upgrade the heavy roller with these too. But actually I don't know if we're going to be able to, because we need to have vehicle equipment, which I think would be different. I guess IR3 doesn't make that distinction, at least not with these, so they would fit in there just fine. Okay, well let's turn off the roboport then. Is this the one with the robots? Nope. Well, we probably don't even need to have a second one, to be honest, if that's the one with the robots, so I think we can just crush this extra heavy roller. We just don't need it. This is the one with the robots. It's gonna have a lot of this stuff we don't need. Well, its ability to do work depends on how many of these discharge equipments they have. So let's build 2 of those. So we'll put 2, so it can operate quickly. And how about 4 accumulators, which means we would need to do 6 of the personal roboports, which means it would hold 60 of the construction robots. Kind of want it to just be 50 though, so how about we do a 3rd discharge equipment? Though it might look better, not that it matters when it's an equipment grid, if we did that. This is going to take a lot of batteries. So all these start charging. There they go. At least it's charging it faster than it did on our inventory. Definitely the construction range is much larger. Still got some of, yeah, those clockwork robots in our inventory. Better hurry up and crush them. Same with the roboports. That copper ore is running kind of low too, so we might need to get that belt set up. In fact, it's going to run out before the coal does. But yep, having lots of robots is pretty good. They seem to charge sufficiently fast. And can't have any cliffs here. Even more steam canisters, but that's probably going to continue. We're going to keep finding them in our inventory. Okay, we needed to get this copper hooked up. I believe we would need a minimum of 6 miners to do this. We don't need to do anything too crazy. Just get everything ready to go, wherever that happens to be. It seems like staying the most out of the way would be coming down here and just sort of hopping over everything. Could we even keep hopping over this? I think so. We'll put this on yarn. We can clear it out a little bit. We don't really need to get that much out of this right now. We just want to get this belt hooked up so it's not a mad dash to get more copper. When we run out, we can just hook it up and keep going. And then the only legacy resource left will be tin. And we looked out that that is nearby as well, so we won't have to do any train stuff. That ought to do it for most of this stuff. It would be nice to make some combat robots. And perfect timing. We do have gold that we can do, but it doesn't actually unlock anything yet. So there's probably no point in researching it. Plus, we haven't actually found any gold. That's one of the last things we need to find because we're going to need to protect it with a wall. And definitely there'd be a wall right here, but beyond that, we're not sure yet. We could just build this wall, but since the biters aren't too much of a problem quite yet, we could probably put it off a little bit, but we do basically need to put a wall at least right up here for sure. And from here, the next thing we need to do is steel. It will be the next tier of research, requiring those green circuits, concrete blocks, and steel beams. So even the concrete is required now. But to make steel, it's just an alloy recipe with iron and coke. However, it is a 100% pollution recipe here. So just keep that in mind, but we would be converting iron into steel. And of course, it gives us the ability to scrap steel and makes all of the items you would expect. Steel plates, the reinforced steel plates, steel gears, steel rods, steel rivets, steel pistons, steel pellets, and the steel beams. Additionally, it does the small steel frames and the steel chest, which now has a storage size of 40. So all of that is pretty predictable. And of course, it will unlock lots of stuff because now we have blue research. But for now, let's let that research, because we do have a little bit more we can show. Like we can show the lamp bots. I doubt I'll use very many of them, but might as well grab them. And I don't know if we're going to be using scatterbots anymore, but I suppose we could just keep them in our inventory just in case. Also, we need to make some defender capsules, and they are actually quite expensive. Require lots of iron magazines. That said, we really don't make robots that much, especially considering they come out in groups of 5 instead of 1. So we probably can get away with just handcrafting these. Just keeping in mind we would need a whole stack of ammo to do it, so we might as well just pick up the stack and then make as many robots as we can out of that, which in this case would be 10. And it does require charged batteries, so that's a little annoying, but all of that stuff, that's a 5-item recipe and it requires all of these relatively expensive resources. We really don't want to be automating that. Plus we made no provisions for it at all. So just having 10 of them ought to be nice. Of course, we're going to be able to throw a bunch of them up now. And that basically gets us caught up with our research. So we need to find some biters to attack. And those ones are, they're back again. I was going to say they're pretty close, but they like to keep building there. How about first we'll do it with a bunch of scatterbots, and then we can compare it with the standard defenders. So I believe we'll be able to launch 3 of these without wasting them. So there they are. Yep, number's green, so. That's pretty good. Still kind of need fish, though. But it's really nice having them protect us from the biters, so we can just focus on the buildings. That seems a little overkill. That is a lot of pellets. There they go. I mean, I guess we can just keep them in our inventory, even if the defenders are technically better. If those get the job done, we might as well just use them all up. Let's try these now. That's a lot of shooting. They do seem better. The raw damage, I think, is higher with the scatterbots, but those little guys certainly do a lot of damage, directed at one target. They also seem to last a lot longer. Yes, they do. 45 seconds compared to 30, so that is definitely an advantage. And made it all the way back to the base. Barely. Then down to our last miner working on copper. Okay, I guess we'll just hold on to scatterbots for a while and put the defenders in there. We do have this lamp bot, which would be nice to test. So let's wait for the sun to go down all the way. But now we need to work on some steel. And we could hook it up to our existing steel setup, but the problem there is that we will not be producing any more iron if we do that. So if we want to be able to make a large amount of steel, we kind of need to copy this thing and do it again, which means we need to double our output. But at least for now, we can just sort of copy this, find somewhere that makes sense, and actually now that we can get rid of cliffs, we can kind of put this stuff anywhere. But do we want to put it in the middle of the factory? And we can actually move these belts to make this a little straighter, because there's no more annoying cliffs in the way. Because we do have this big open space, we might as well use it. And it's getting pretty dark, so we can test out the lamp bot. It's not much. It's a bot. It makes light. Of course, we have night vision too, which kind of affects that. But yeah, it sits there and makes light. I'm not sure what the point is. At least at the point that you get it. Maybe if you unlocked it at the beginning of the game before you had lamps, it would make more sense. But after that point, it's just kind of weird. And also, we have this iron. Even though it makes its path a little longer if we do this, it does make the path straighter. Also, we need to figure out exactly how many alloy furnaces we're going to need. Let's just make a new line for this. We've kind of already calculated it, but let's just do another one, where the goal is 15 per second with efficiencies, and that comes from crushed ore with efficiencies, and that comes from crushers. So those numbers should hopefully be the same, 16 and 24, and then we'll need another 24. And it really doesn't take that much coke, just 1.25, so that much will be fine. It's kind of funny having inside and outside belts like this when we have long-handed inserters, but it should be okay. Although, we could do direct insertion here with these furnaces, and I kind of want to try to do that if possible. So let's see what we can do. First, that belt would come up there, and then it would swing around. Let's just pull out all of this for now. Well, we're probably going to need to space this out a bit, but there would be an inserter going in there, and kind of doing this. So unfortunately, we kind of have to pick it up. And how about we put it over there? Guess it would have been easier to move the crushers, but oh well. We do need to upgrade this to red. We haven't upgraded the mines yet, but there's definitely room to do it, and the train is certainly fast enough for it as well. So we're just about ready to see all of this in action. So let's get that hooked up. Looks like the other side's already good. Let's see what it can do. This is probably going to consume quite a bit of power. Well, that's good to see. Achievement unlocked. So now we need to use that steel we're making. And currently, the most direct application of it is the steel analysis pack. But it requires not necessarily some bus items, but it does require steel beams. And those are essentially a bus item. And when you get to steel is when you want to decide if you still want to use this main bus or not, because as you see, we've used up all 4 of our item slots. So if we wanted to put a 5th one in there, it's going to cause some issues, because at some point we need to actually do a main bus instead of this mini bus here. But I noticed that we have run out of copper, which is good to see. And looks like we're almost basically out of coal too. We are very close to this original mine completely running out. So there we go. Get rid of it and get rid of these drop points. Probably don't need to worry too much about all these belts, because I have the feeling they're all basically going to get removed soon once all these mines get cleared out. We're very short on coal, but luckily it doesn't really matter since we don't consume that much of it. There we go. And of course we have some explosives packs to put in there. It's barely recognizable from the beginning. We'll let that keep going, and with our 900 coal left. So we need to decide, are we going to repurpose this or rebuild it? And we are kind of using a 3rd slot here for the wood items, but that's kind of a very limited use and it doesn't go the whole way. So that's fine. So one thing we want to consider is how much does each resource actually get used? So we're definitely using copper and iron for lots of modern equipment. It's bronze and tin that they're the ones that we use less of. So kind of the question is, can we replace one of those with steel? Well, we definitely need tin to make these science packs, but we don't actually have to make them on this bus here. We could make them somewhere else. We do need tin in the production of these belts, but then you come here and it's suddenly all iron. Iron, iron, iron. More and more and more. And then a little bit of copper and we get to here, and we are using bronze to make our power poles. We could make them with iron and stuff, but we might as well keep this in place for now. And then the main use of bronze is to make these plates, which go into the science packs. But again, it doesn't have to be done on the bus here. And then we're using tin to make shotgun shells and these plates. So that's essentially it. So another thing we can do is factory search and look for ingredient, and then make the ingredient tin ingots. And this tells us all of the places that they're used. So of course we use it in making bronze, and we also use it in making glass, but we want to look at the bus. So this is right near where we're standing, where it's the transfer plates and the shotgun shells, and then the other place is back at the beginning, which means that we really don't use that much tin on our main bus. But another thing we can consider, we could make steel poles instead, the wire reach of 9, and a 7x7 supply area instead of the 5x5. So we would definitely want to do that, which means that we are not going to be needing this bronze for these power poles anymore. Another search we can do is bronze ingots. Where do they go? Well, they go into these power poles, and they go into these plates, and that is it. So when you think about all of the items we could replace, replacing bronze makes the most sense, because we can make these plates anywhere and just shoot them in here to make the science packs, and that would be it. So I believe we have a slot we can use now. So first thing we'll do is come in here and pull this out. Not sure if the recipe is going to be the same or not. Very well might be. But for now, we'll just pick up all of this and sort of just place it there to remind us what it is. And we'll already have plenty of poles, so hopefully 104 poles is enough for anything we might need. And also we need to basically just move this. It's really not even that important. It can go anywhere, just not right here. Let's see, the easiest way would probably be to perhaps come up through here. And we do have a little space right here that we can use. So can we just kind of put this here? Sure, seems like it. And then we would just need to bring the bronze in through here. And we can slide it underneath this other pipe. It feels weird, but that's the only thing that bronze was going up there for. Which means we don't need it. Of course, we won't need this belt either. And in it goes. Not much to it, but it's hooked up again. And we have our increasingly large set of belts right here. But it's as much out of the way as it can be, so we'll keep using it. And there's our shiny steel ingots. Is the train holding up? Yeah, seems to be. We haven't really used it at full blast, so it doesn't really have an issue. And this can swing in where the bronze was. And there we go. Our coal patch is now cleared out. And it's all been removed from these as well. Which means finally we can get rid of all of this belt craziness that we had to put in here in order to properly clear these patches out. In fact, there's so much of it here, we can just use robots to do this. And it's still a mess because of how all these belts had to be set up. Finally, it feels good to have all of that getting cleared out. And now we have lots of stone in our inventory. Actually, we do have some extra items we can put in here, such as the bronze capped beams and the bronze rivets. Now let's hook up the coal going the other direction. And then we don't need this belt. And we weren't using much coke, but it is operational once again. It's starting to be that the only thing that reminds us that this was the beginning of the game is this copper steam derrick just sitting here, passively providing us a little bit of free energy. Well, in goes steel. However, we need to remove all of this bronze. And probably the easiest thing to do is to just kind of stand here on the end and pick it up until it makes it to the end. And there might be some bronze ingots, for example, stuck inside these fast splitters or other places, but since we've removed all the machines that would actually use it, those extra resources just kind of stuck in places shouldn't actually cause any issues. And there we go. We can try to clear it out a little bit by, for example, coming in here and cleaning those out just so it looks a little more consistent. But you're going to find little bits of it stuck all over the place, so that's fine. You don't want to go too nuts trying to tear this out. I would say just look for any little bronze bits, and if you find them, pick them up, but otherwise, call it good. Now that that is set up, we can start working on the steel, and we kind of need to figure out what we would want to bus and what we wouldn't, and that depends on all the items we want to make. But for now, we know that we are going to want the steel beams, so we search that and look at the things that it goes into. It goes into quite a few items, but the big ones would be the large steel frames, and of course the steel analysis pack, out of the things that we would automate. So for now, how about we just do what we need, and then we can figure out the order of everything later. So first thing we want to do is match the production of our other science packs. So we're looking for 0.607, and we'll figure out where to put this later, but we just kind of want the numbers right now. Where we want steel packs, let's put the productivities in there. And our numbers are the same, so we would want 4 of them. And the input for there is 2.25. So that tells me if we did a similar amount, it would probably be fine. So it would essentially be this. And what's funny, because we switched out the bronze with steel, is that technically we could probably use this exact same setup without changing anything but the recipes, and it would work. So long as the recipe is actually the same. And it absolutely is. Nothing about it changes except the material. So we lucked out. That essentially, I guess we'll just pick it up like this. All we need to do is build another one of these, and that's it. And we could potentially build it right here, but we might as well just keep going. And now that we have cliff explosives, we can keep going in a straight line. So we don't really have to worry about stuff getting in the way anymore. So it would go here, but we probably should just pull these up. Almost fits without issue. So, switch everything to steel. So there we go. Making steel. And we do probably want to pick it up. And now that we have filter inserters, doing this is much easier. Let's just do a wooden pellet for now. It'll pick stuff up. And we are certainly going to want some. There we go. Okay, the other thing we need to do is actually make the science packs. And they are going to have a long way to travel. But it's going to be a long way for something. Because it's either going to have to travel a long way for the beams, the bricks, or the circuits, or some combination thereof. Well, the circuits are right here. So actually kind of just putting it on the other side of these machines might actually work pretty well. Kind of just want to repeat this. I guess at this point we should just start clearing this out. It is an enormous cliff. So there's a couple of different ways we can do this. I'm thinking we could actually just combine it on this belt with the green items, and then kind of switch the belt later. So how about we use this belt going this direction for the steel, and then the other one can be the concrete blocks, which I guess could come from down here, and the circuits. IR3 is good about essentially making you use everything that you have created. I guess we'll keep this red since that's how fast we're producing it, even though we don't really need it to be red. And we can use this opportunity here to get some circuits, and I'll just keep using the red belt for now, because I don't think these things are actually going to use that much. No, not really. Just using the red belt for consistency. So this can come up here and swing around. And let's see, how are we doing on making these circuits? We're making them plenty fast for what we need for science. And here come the rest of the resources. And it's cool that there are 4 circles on the graphic, because this is technically the 4th tier of science pack. And there we go, making the blue packs. So we're going to borrow half of this belt with the green packs, because that's the only thing we're using it for, but only up until a point, which is basically right here. So at this point we would want to split it off and say green go to the right, and then the blue packs will come through here, and we can combine the belts here, kind of have them go up to where they need to go. Yep, there we go. The blue packs are coming through. They're merging. And life will just be a little easier if we move this 1 square up. So there we go, using lots of our iron. And lots of the steel. Surprisingly, we're basically using all of it, but we did just pick up a bunch of items off the bus, so that makes sense. Is the train holding up? Yeah, it is. I mean, certainly it can unload that fast. Kind of the question is, can it mine that fast? And so far it seems to be managing. It's not unloading all of the wagons completely evenly, but that kind of depends on exactly which direction the ore goes. But there we go. We've got our blue packs here, and we should probably pick up the rest of these explosives research, so everything is consistent. And there we go. Pack number 4. We are now in the Steel Age. And now the question is, out of all of our new things, what do we want to do next? However, that's going to have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.